All right, guys. Do a quick one here. Just get back from Home Depot. While I was at Home Depot, I was thinking about the Bambu Lab new TPU AMS filament, and I've been printing with it. I don't know, for 3 weeks, playing around with it, seeing what I thought and stuff. And I think I'm gonna knock out a quick little video real quick and share with you, for those who are interested, what I have found out. Where you at? If it's good, all that good stuff. Picked these up today. New little screwdriver set. I'm addicted to little tools, but the reason I picked this up is it's got a 0.9 millimeter, 0.13, 0.15, which got a 0.15 here, got a 0.14 here. Oh, I also got this little screwdriver here, which is amazing for whoops. This wear, I love wear stuff. And so I've got some nice little Phillips heads, tiny Phillips heads in here and stuff like that. But I'm gonna play around with that. Might be able to add it to my little deal here. Okay, but let's see what we've been doing. So I've got two AMSs. I've got a TPU AMS and I've got a regular filament AMS right here. And this is the modded one where you take the springs out and all that good stuff. And it's okay. It's okay. It's finicky. There's not enough torque on it. It's not designed for TPU. Constantly having a hand feed because the spool, there's not enough pull to force the spool to turn, and it gets stuck, and I have to come in here and help it. And then other times it will run for a day just fine. It's finicky on the spools and stuff like that. But I've been running the AMS TPU over in this second one here, and feeding issues no problem, as expected. That's what Bambu has designed it for. But it's definitely much more stiff. See if you can see. Let me get over here. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's got about that much flex to it. All right, and at first feel, it reminds me a lot of this Pryline TPU that I've played around with. Pryline is harder than Sainsmart TPU. It's got it's a shore rating of, I think, 98. So I've been playing around with this for about a year. On the spool, the AMS TPU really can't tell you nothing. The AMS TPU from Bambu is definitely stiffer than the Pryline TPU. The Pryline TPU has ran through the first AMS, the non-TPU modded AMS, pretty good. It runs pretty good. It still has a quirk here and there, but it's still better than the normal TPU that we all use, the Sainsmart, stuff like that. But it is firmer than the normal TPU. I used it on this build, the MCK Whoop, and it's definitely less flexible than traditional TPU, but it does have some give to it. It's just a little bit more firm. So I thought I would try it on this one for potential crashes and things of that nature. The issue I found was it would snap. Now that's a thin line right there, but it would snap where Sain Smart wouldn't snap. So I thought, well, let's try the same print on the AMS TPU, and again, it snapped in the same spot. Can you see that? Nope. Stick over here. It snapped in the same spot. Okay, so obviously that's a weak point in the print design. It's definitely prone to snapping there, but I was wondering if it would behave any differently, and it didn't. But I'll tell you this, it is definitely stiffer than the pry line. The pry line has much more flexibility than the TPU one does. For example, the Bambu Lab one. For example, I printed up pry line and I printed up Bambu Lab. Printed up a couple ducks. All right, let me see if I can show you this. Focus on the ducks. All right. There's much more flexibility in the pry line. So much so that this isn't, I wouldn't care for this as the duck guards for any of my whoops. This is the FPV Cycle Cinesplorer. This is an amazing 3-inch Cine Whoop that I've used on many jobs. And in the past, when we were printing these, we were using I believe it's PHCP. I believe that's the filament that we were using to print, because it's firmer than TPU. It's still flexible, and if I remember correctly, it's got some fibers in it to help reinforce. Issue is in a crash, it's still going to push in, and your props are going to hit and stuff like that. But again, the object is it's a Cine Whoop. You're not supposed to be crashing, right? That's the goal. You're not supposed to be crashing a Cine Whoop. But it happens, and so you want protection for your Cine Whoop when that happens. But we were using PHCP, if I remember correctly. So then I was checking out the pry line. It's not as firm as the PHCP, so this wouldn't be a good duct. But the Bambu Lab, I was really impressed. This is some pretty firm but yet flexible. TPU. So I also printed GoPro mount. All right. This is a mount that I've been using for several years. I modified it recently for the Osmo Action 5. I've switched to DJI's action cameras. I left GoPro when the Osmo 4 came out. And this was printed straight out of the pack. I didn't dry it. It's good quality, but it's a little rough. Let me see if you can see some of that. Move it, see if you can see some of the layers and stuff like that. I'm hoping you can. Let me try this camera. Maybe you can see some of the layers. I'm not quite sure because I really can't see the screen on this one. But overall, it was a really good print. Very usable. But I know it can be a little bit nicer. I also printed. I had a buddy that wanted some a new plate printed for his module, and so I was playing around with it, and this is a great material for something like this, a module cover. I printed out a couple different styles. Before I would have printed something like this out in PLA Plus, something like that, which in the wrong circumstances in his backpack, he's going to crack it. This won't crack. So I immediately thought of that as when I saw it as like, okay, there's a potential benefit, a potential use for Bambu Labs TPU. I also printed some of these battery straps. So I generally don't print them this big. I usually use these battery straps on 2-inch, 1.5 inch. Not for really for freestyle. I'm using them on my little my Mob Digitals and 2-inch builds and stuff like that for work. Again, you shouldn't be crashing. And these do very well. They're very lightweight. And before on my TPU, let me see if I can find you an example. Hold up, let me see if I can find you an example. So on my TPU, this is a TPU battery strap, and you can see it's very flexible, not much firmness to it. And I even went and cut the ends off with a little lip because I was finding it was taking me too much time when I was working. It was taking me too much time to try and get it back into this little clasp, if you will. And you know, I was wasting too much time on the bench changing the battery versus just out flying catching video. So this is a godsend. So something like this adds very little weight, right? This adds nothing to the overall weight to the build. Now with this strap, it's got some firmness to it. So when I come around and try to push it in the clasp, I'm not fighting spaghetti. So I guess what I'm saying is the Bambu Labs TPU, it has its purpose. Is it going to replace general TPU prints? You know, is it going to replace general TPU prints? It's going to be good for some things. It's going to be not good for others. It's really going to be by application. As far as a GoPro mount, it will work, and it would work just fine. But I feel like there's less impact absorption with this. I feel like it's going to transfer the shock to the camera much more efficiently than a traditional softer TPU such as SaneSmart, like what I have here. You can do it. It's going to be totally fine. I'm thinking I may not use it for a GoPro mount, but I would use it for battery straps. Definitely ducts, new ducts for the Cine Explorer. I'm going to reprint ducts out, and I'm going to replace the current ducts on my Cine Explorer. Maybe fly lens or fly times. Fly lens, I can't remember which one. Maybe the new ribbon, TPU ribbon that goes around. Here's a good example. Okay, so on this rig, I've got this Bambu Labs TPU 3D printed action camera base. So here's SaneSmart TPU, which is the most common, which is what I've been using until now. You can see it's got some flex. Not the best thing for an action camera, but this is at 50%, and I can do 100%. but this is at 50%, which usually that's all you need. Let me hide. There you go. All right. Usually that's all you need. This is at 50%. This is Bambi Labs TPU. And you can see it's not really, there's no flex, much more firm. Much more firm. So one thing that I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start using the Bambi Labs TPU for my GoPro or my action camera base mounts. I'm going to use it for, little module covers and LiPo battery straps on little 2-inchers and stuff. I did some drying after the initial first print of these items. I dried it for the roll for 24 hours. Came back, reprinted, and the quality improved just because it was a dry filament. The layer lines are much more uniform. I have a little bit more dialing in on the TPU. I didn't find that the default print settings that Bambu Lab has for the TPU to be optimal on the X1C or the A1 Mini. I feel like they're on the conservative side. I increased the heat, I increased the retraction and stuff. But look how easy these supports come out. I did adjust the print settings a little bit, and so you'll have to play with it and get a little bit nicer. I went with a little bit more heat and a little more retraction because you can see things like this. Let me see if I can show it to you. Let me pull that off. You can see where the edge is a little bit goopy. I felt like it needed a little bit more heat. I think I increased the flow from I don't remember what it was stock, but I believe I've kicked it up to 1.05 to try and help the flow rate. And now I don't necessarily have an example with me, do I? I don't. I mean, the closest examples I have are these that I've printed. The quality and the goopiness. The quality is much better. The goopiness is gone, and it's a nice quality print. Much more similar to my Sane Smart prints now that I've got it dialed in. And so I would recommend going that route and increasing your flow to 1.05 or somewhere around there. Every machine's a little bit different. I increased the heat 0.08 on the retraction, I believe. But that seemed to improve the quality. Try to do some experimenting with some of the, can you see overhead? With some of the filament changes. And I don't think this is a flow issue. There's some bleeding going on between the white and the green and this red, which the red sucks. This isn't red. This is more like orange. So the colors are kind of depending on what is. I got black, fluorescent green, white, and red. This ain't red. They're going to do something better for us on this. But I did some experimenting with multicolor, and this isn't. These aren't bleeding. The purge amount was like 800 for each color, and you shouldn't need anything more than 250-ish. Once you get over 250, you're wasting filament. So I think this is more not enough layers on top of the primary colors in order for it to pop, to be definitive lines, slightly like the green is slightly translucent when thin, and so I think that's what happened here. So you can do multicolor. You're going to have to play around with the thickness of your of the part that you're changing colors on, and you're going to play around with your purge amount. But it can. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like you're going to be able to have. Let me say this. I don't know yet. This is my initial impression. It doesn't look like you're going to be able to change colors, say, along the same surface and just go from color to color with the distinct, nice, crisp delineating the lines between the colors. It looks like you're going to have some sort of recess parts that allows you to get some thickness to separate it from the previous color, and just have continuous layers. Like, let's see if we can see. You see how that's there you go. See how that's raised? It looks like you're still going to have to go about it that route, versus saying be able to take segments of the same plane and have different colors with nice crisp lines, such as when you're doing manual filament changes. It pauses, you pull the filament out, you put a new filament in, and then it starts. You got a nice crisp, clean line. I don't know if that's going to work so well with painting in Bambu Labs. I'm going to keep experimenting and see. So I'm going to wrap this up. All in all, is it worth $40 a roll? I'm going to say no. I mean, you can get relatively close. You can get closer to the rigidity of the Bambi Labs AMS TPU with Pryline, but not as much. Will Pryline end up snapping in a crash? Depending on your walls and your infill and stuff, it possibly could. It possibly could. Do I need enough of these battery straps or enough of these module covers and stuff to justify $40? No, I don't. Would the Pryline work for something like this? No, it's still too flexible. It's still too flexible. But the Bambu Labs AMS TPU is amazing for like action camera base mounts. Like, that thing's rigid. It's almost, I mean, it's not as rigid as this Quad Standard Labs CNC aluminum one, but it's pretty damn rigid. Will I buy more in Bambu Labs AMS TPU in the future? Yes, I will. I'll keep experimenting. I'll keep playing. I will probably find other things to use it on other than just some mounts and battery straps and stuff like that. But in general, I would say it's going to be limited to 10% of my printing. The vast majority of my printing is still going to be SaneSmart TPU for FPV. But it does have some uses. I think this would be the go-to stuff if you want to print a tiny whoop frame. I definitely think this is good. This is better than PLA Plus for tiny whoops. So, you know, I would say that the technology in 3D printing has finally achieved our ability to print tiny whoop frames. 2-inch, maybe, you know, maybe you can, I mean, you can print bigger, but then you get into vibrations and stuff like that and durability. I think for the weight of a 2-inch tiny whoop, how important a good clean build is and such for a 2-inch and a tiny whoop, I think this is just fine. I think a lot of people are going to find that TPU printed Bambu Lab AMS TPU printed tiny whoop frames is going to be a lot of fun. So there's that. So with that said, I'm going to wrap this up. If you got any questions or comments or anything, feel free to post them down. Other than that, peace out. Love y'all. Have a good day.